husband is supposed to be your protector, your safe space, and the person you trust the most. And that was taken away from me that night. I wasn't understanding why the person who was supposed to love me the most was hurting me in the most unimaginable way. It was like he wanted me to feel the pain and hurt he was struggling with internally. The most disappointing part was our son was in the same room sleeping while this happened. Running out of that house with our child in my arms, calling 911 will probably stay with me forever, along with seeing my husband in handcuffs.
On behalf of Mr. Cole, Judge, we're respectfully requesting the court to impose a sentence of probation in this matter, allowing Mr. Cole to continue his extraordinary progress towards sobriety and to demonstrate his commitment to becoming the husband and father that he was without alcohol in his life. Mr. Cole is profoundly remorseful for his conduct. He's repeatedly expressed deep shame, embarrassment, acknowledging that alcohol has acted as a demon and a thief. It's transformed him into someone he is not, an abuser who stole from his family the good husband, the good father, the good man that he's always strived to be. In the months since this offense, Judge, Mr. Cole has completed more voluntary mitigation than almost any client I've represented in 12 years of practice. His efforts include attending 191 AA meetings, sponsor meetings, and related sessions, and serving as a chairperson for 2 months of AA meetings. His sponsor is here in the courtroom to support him today. He's graduated from IOP aftercare. He's attended 16 PTSD therapy sessions at the Vet Center. I provided the court with documentation reflecting that, and the prosecuting attorney. He's finally taken the steps to address the root cause of his issues, Judge, and recently he received a formal 70% service-connected VA disability rating for PTSD, which is the highest level of PTSD rating that would still permit him to work. He recently also did obtain a job offer in the field of HR, and I did present documentation of that to the court and to the state. Mr. Cole took these steps both voluntarily but also out of necessity, and his determination to address his issues and never to go back to the person that he was on the night that this incident occurred. He also took these steps, Your Honor, while he was living and is still living in a Best Western motel since the start of this case, and following the loss of his prior employment, which has caused significant financial hardship. Mr. Cole has no prior criminal record of this nature, and this incident occurred against the backdrop of psychological toll that his military service instilled, and that's now been formally recognized by the Department of Veterans Affairs. Mr. Cole has already endured substantial punishment through the collateral consequences of his arrest, permanent conviction for an offense of violence, financial hardship, loss of his job, removal from his home, and other consequences both personally and professionally. But this case, in many ways, has also been a blessing, as it has forced Mr. Cole to redirect his life for the better, and he's taken that opportunity without any hesitation. Your Honor, I would submit that a sentence of probation is the appropriate sentence here without incarceration. It would be consistent with the principles and purposes of misdemeanor sentencing under Ohio law, given the circumstances of the case, given the specifics of Mr. Cole, and given his exemplary conduct in the wake of this incident. I'm confident that my client would follow any and all terms and conditions of probation that this court were to impose to a T, just as he's complied with all the terms and conditions of his bond and no violations on the scram bracelet. We're asking the court, in addition, to lift the no contact order that's been in place so that Mr. Cole can start to rebuild his family in a safe, sober, and responsible way. My client loves his wife, his child, and he's ready to be the present, sober, and loving husband and father that they deserve. And, Your Honor, at this time, my client's father would like to make a very brief statement and my client would also like to address the court.
All right.
State your name.
Courtney Cole, Jason's dad. Jason's always been a hardworking and caring individual. Since as far back as I can remember, he tends to put other people first, even to the detriment of himself. In addition, he has a strong sense of community that came out in his dedication to both myself, his mom, and his little brother. The same sense of community showed itself in his service to our country, and then to his family, Ashley and Luca. Unfortunately, the pressures associated with the service to the Army led him to rely more and more on alcohol to cope with the stresses of both the military career and the career after he came back. Compounded with repeated deployments into dangerous and sometimes violent situations for months on end. He would come back for 2 months and then head back out again. The turning point was his deployment in Kuwait and the subsequent return. I spent significant time on the phone talking to him about his attempts to reintegrate with normal society. Simple things like going to the grocery store could break him to where he just couldn't physically get into the store, or once in the store find his way back out. Unfortunately, that caused his drinking, or his drinking in his attempts to mitigate that led all the way up to the incident that we're here for. The combination of PTSD brought on by his service to his country, his reliance on alcohol, to unknowingly cope, the stigma that is ingrained in military history, and the fact that soldiers are led to believe that they're too strong and too self-reliant ever to ask for help, kept him from asking for the help that he needed. Since Jason has committed himself to sobriety, becoming not just a participant, but a leader in the AA community, as well as going through counseling, I've seen that return of the son that I knew back to being a strong, confident individual. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cole, what do you want to tell me before I sentence you?
Your Honor, I have a statement prepared I'd like to read. It took me 15 years to acknowledge that I was an alcoholic. I've been a father, a husband, a son, a working professional, and a veteran. It took me 15 years to acknowledge that I was an alcoholic. It wasn't until I heard a version of myself that I did not recognize, a version that filled me with disgust and shame, that I finally understood the gravity of my addiction. I cannot take back anything that happened on October 5th, and I'll be forever sorry for everything that happened and the harm that it's caused. Wish more than anything that I could fully recognize the seriousness of my behavior and circumstance to that night. Hearing the recording of my actions that night was heart-wrenching and repulsive. I was holding a mirror to myself and being forced to confront a version of myself I never want to see again. That moment pushed me to seek help, to take accountability, and to rebuild myself from the inside out. It forced me to face the trauma I carried from overseas and at home. It forced me to confront the pride that made me mistake silence for weakness or for strength. It made me realize the only path forward was complete removal of alcohol from my life indefinitely. I've been in trouble with drinking in the past. Returning from Kuwait and Iraq marked a turning point for me. When I returned, I was responsible for a platoon of soldiers, their safety, their families, and their futures. A few weeks later, one of my soldiers called me to thank me for getting him into sergeant school. 15 minutes after that phone call, Specialist Walsh took his own life, leaving behind a wife and 2 children. Their lives were changed forever, and so was mine. My drinking spiraled rapidly after that, and I failed to see how far I had drifted from the man I wanted to be. There is no excuse for what I did. I have spent every day since trying to understand how it reached such a low point, how to ensure I never return to that under any circumstance. Ashley, I love you and the good one you do. I would spend every waking moment making sure that I'm a better father and husband to you, and that I make sure that I put my sobriety and my mental health first. I'm sorry. I committed to real, meaningful change for myself and my family moving forward. For the past 6 months, I've attended Alcoholics Anonymous, graduated from intensive outpatient treatment, participated in weekly PTSD therapy, and have formally completed my Veterans Affairs disability claim for my PTSD. I don't have this in my statement, but acknowledging my issues and my disability and the fact that I couldn't cope with even walking into a Walmart was a big step for me. And I understand that I have a long way to go. And Steve, my Alcoholics Anonymous sponsor, is in this room. This man says sobriety is not optional. It's an essential part of my life. And it is. It's ingrained in every single aspect of my life from this point forward, and it has been since that night. I'm going to spend every single day ensuring that not only I stay sober, but I also give back to my community. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Prior to addressing the court, the victim, Ashley Cole, would like to speak.
Okay.
Thank you for allowing me to read my impact statement, Your Honor. October 5th, 2025, I don't think will ever leave me. When I first wrote this, I went into exact detail about that night, but I didn't think our families deserved to hear that, and honestly, I didn't want to relive it. Your husband is supposed to be your protector, your safe space, and the person you trust the most, and that was taken away from me that night. I wasn't understanding why the person who was supposed to love me the most was hurting me in the most unimaginable way. It was like he wanted me to feel the pain and hurt he was struggling with internally. The most disappointing part was our son was in the same room sleeping while this happened. Running out of that house with our child in my arms, calling 911 will probably stay with me forever, along with seeing my husband in handcuffs. I remember immediately telling the officer that I regret it and I feel guilty. And he looked at me and said, "You did the right thing. You should never have to worry about your husband coming home drunk and hurting you." The night has left me with a lot of emotional wounds that have taken much longer to heal. I experienced constant stress, nightmares, overwhelming anxiety about what might happen next. Instead of being my partner, he was absent emotionally and physically due to his drinking. The drinking took over his life completely. I didn't have the husband I deserved, and our son didn't have the father he deserved or needed. When I said in sickness and in health, I meant it. I chose him every single day when he gave me reasons not to, and I forgave him even when it broke me. I kept saying it's okay even when it wasn't. I thought maybe if I understood him more, he'd finally see how much I cared. I tried to give him the love that he never got, and now I have pain that I never deserved. I loved him through his silence, through his moods, through the moments he made me feel like I wasn't enough. I feel like I'm left picking up the pieces of myself that I lost while trying to love someone who was never ready to be loved. I always wanted it to be us. I will always wish it was. Through the good, the bad, and the ugly, I truly loved this person. I supported this person, and I will always want the best for him. He is one of the most intelligent human beings I've ever met. The things that he has accomplished in life will always make me proud of him. From his military career, professional career, and everything in between. His mistakes do not and should not define who he is. My hope for this person is that he truly heals from the things that broke him. I'm working on healing and rebuilding. I owe it to myself and to my child to become my best version. I am so ridiculously proud of the woman standing here today because I went through one hell of a time becoming her. I know alcohol played a big factor in what happened to me. I know that does not excuse his behavior. What happened was serious, and I am in no way minimizing the severity. I know that he has done treatment and therapy. I'm asking the court to consider a sentence that focuses on rehabilitation, such as continued treatment, therapy, and supervision, rather than incarceration. I want to see this person continue to get the help he needs, and I believe those steps would better support that outcome. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. As the court's aware in this case, the defendant assaulted and strangled the victim, a verbal and physical assault that lasted for over an hour. The victim was able to audio record this offense, which was provided to the police department and described in the report in this case. And you can hear in that audio recording multiple audible slaps from the defendant. You can hear the defendant asking if he can hit her again. You can hear the victim pleading for him to stop hitting her and spitting on her. You can hear the defendant calling her names, and you can hear the defendant threatening to kill her. Especially concerning is that through all of this, their 2-year-old son was present during the assault, sleeping in bed with the victim. The same bed where the defendant was physically and verbally assaulting her. The same bed that the defendant dragged her off of by her ankles before strangling her on the floor. The victim had to grab their sleeping son and flee from the home when the defendant left the room. And she was so scared that she didn't even want to come out of hiding when the police arrived until the defendant was in handcuffs. The defendant's actions not only demonstrated disregard for the victim's safety, but as well as for the well-being of his son. I understand that alcohol played a role in this offense. However, as the court pointed out, the defendant has had prior treatment, and he successfully completed those treatments, and he continued to drink despite those prior interventions. The state is asking this court to impose a sentence that reflects the seriousness of the defendant's conduct, to protect the victim and holds the defendant accountable. We are asking for a period of local incarceration and community control sanctions that this court deems appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, anything further that you want to say?
No, Judge, I think you have a good picture of the circumstances here. Thank you.
All right, I've reviewed the pre-sentence report and the drug and alcohol evaluation, as well as the victim impact statement. Listen to Ms. Cole, listen to the defendant, his father, listen to counsel. This case was indicted with a, was it 2-count?
It was a 2.
Strangulation, felony 4, domestic misdemeanor?
Yes, Your
Right?
Honor.
Okay. The initial offer was, back at the pretrial, December 18th, was a plea to the felony, to strangulation, a dismissal of domestic. There was some further negotiation, and on February 25th, the offer was changed to a plea to domestic violence in M1 with a dismissal of the felony charge based on, and I wasn't part of this, but based on, as I understand it, what Mr. Brown presented to Mr. Colson regarding Mr. Cole. Is that correct?
Mr. Brown provided that information directly to me, and I reviewed that with our office.
Okay.
But yes, he submitted significant mitigation.
And that decision was made?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, so in light of all the information that I have received, clearly you've had this alcohol problem for at least 15 years, probably longer. And the further you the further you went along, the worse it got. To some degree, probably a large degree, based on your service in the Army, but that seemed to fuel where you were at to the point where you completely lost your mind and control over your actions. I'm a little astounded by Ms. Cole and her statement and how she has reacted to this and how she seems to have gained strength from this situation. So that's quite an outlook you have, Ms. Cole, and quite a bit of strength that you show. So the question becomes what to do with you right now based on all the information. My concern is that in 2013 and 2020, you went through some sort of treatment. It seems rather to have been on the surface rather than in depth, and maybe that's the way they wanted it. That's all they required, that's what they wanted, and that's what they got, but it certainly didn't do you any good. So the question becomes where you're at right now as it relates to this offense. And this is pretty nasty stuff. I didn't hear the tape, but I read the kind of the transcript of it. In addition to the physicality of it, the mental torture you inflicted on her was pretty severe. So hopefully you think about that every day so it reminds you where you're at. Now, you can't let it take over your life, or you'll never get out of where you're at. So you're either going to move forward or you're going to stall and then slip backwards. And you got your guy here to help you work through the alcohol issue. So boy, you better take advantage of it. So I'm going to place you on probation for a period of 3 years. The sentence will be that you're to serve 180 days in jail. 90 of it will be suspended, 86 of it will be deferred, and that 86 days are to be served on June 24th of 26. You're to report at 10 a.m. Now, what I'm going to do is monitor your compliance such that we have a review hearing on June 24th at 9 a.m. And you are to, and then I'll determine whether an hour later you show up over here. And that's going to be based on the track that you take over the next 90 days. So you are to continue, obviously you're to have no drugs or alcohol. Besides are you prescribed medication from the VA?
No, I'm not, Your Honor.
Is the person you see a counselor, or is it a psychologist or psychiatrist? What's their?
He's a counselor and therapist.
Okay.
I do not believe he's able to prescribe medication.
Okay. So as I said, no drugs or alcohol with screens. You're to continue your treatment that currently is in place at the VA.
Yes,
And
Your
to follow all recommendations. You are to go to at least 5 AA meetings a week and maintain your sponsor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you regularly see any doctor?
I do for my annual physical
Okay.
now, Your
So,
Honor.
so you're to see only one doctor and one dentist, and if you are prescribed medication, you're to take it only as prescribed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you ever played around with illicit drugs at all in your life?
I've smoked marijuana in the past, but no, Your Honor. And
Okay.
I will not take any drugs of any kind, Your Honor.
All right. You're going to sign releases so probation can get your records. You're to maintain full employment and pay the costs and supervision fees. Ms. Randazzo, any other terms?
Would you like him to look into an anger management program?
Well, I'm going to presume that that's all a part of what the counseling is. I think the most important aspect of it is the ultimate cause of the anger, and that seems to be the PTSD in combination with the alcohol. So I'm going to presume that is taken care of through the VA counseling. Do you understand the terms, Mr. Cole?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Brown, anything further as to the terms?
Just as to the no contact order, Judge.
Well, the request, and Ms. Cole, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is the request from you, directly from you, is that it be lifted. Is that correct or incorrect?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Cole, do you understand the terms?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any question about the terms?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So like I said, we're going to see how you do in the course of the next 90 days. And that will determine whether you go to jail on June 24th for 86 days. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor. I understand.
But you have 176 days hanging over your head regardless, because a violation means that you go to jail for the 176 days. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the costs are assessed also. Is there anything else, Ms. Alessi?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Mr. Brown?
No, Judge, but just to clarify, does the court lift the order?
Well, the bond is released, so the order was part of the bond
Okay.
condition, so that is not part of the terms.
Okay, thank you.
Under Ohio Revised Code Section 2919.25, domestic violence, the defendant entered a plea to a first-degree misdemeanor after the original felony strangulation charge was dismissed as part of a negotiated resolution. The court considered the pre-sentence investigation, victim impact statement, substance abuse history, and documented rehabilitation efforts. The court imposed a sentence of 3 years of community control probation, along with a 180-day jail term. Of that term, 90 days were suspended and 86 days were deferred, subject to a compliance review. The deferred portion is contingent upon the defendant's adherence to all probation conditions over a 90-day monitoring period. Failure to comply may result in the imposition of up to 176 days of incarceration. Additional conditions include complete abstinence from alcohol and drugs, regular testing, mandatory participation in ongoing PTSD treatment through the Veterans Affairs System, and attendance at a minimum of 5 Alcoholics Anonymous meetings per week. The defendant is also required to maintain employment and comply with supervision requirements. The no-contact order associated with bond conditions was lifted upon sentencing. The court retains jurisdiction to modify or enforce the sentence based on compliance.